Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzad. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. What a busy day we had in Philadelphia sports yesterday. My, oh my. Jalen Hurts signs a 5-year contract extension for $255 million. Nearly $180 million of that guaranteed. And the 76ers storm back in the second half to go up 2-0 on the Brooklyn Nets. And I don't know if I want to say I just predicted it, but I did a pat on the back for myself. But anyway, the Jalen Hurts contract, we did the emergency show yesterday. And by the way, fair warning to everybody in our chat check, fair warning to everybody watching the show, fair warning to everyone on the podcast. PJ's off today, needed a day off, take care of something, and everything was okay. And I'm pushing buttons today. And I'm pretty sure, I think if I remember correctly, when we recorded the interview with Thomas R. Peterson, who will join the show later today, Eagles analyst all the way from Denmark, I'm pretty sure I mute myself, which I think that might be the first time that's ever happened for anyone doing a podcast under the age of 80. So, hey, it's good to be known for something, right? Let's start it off with this Jalen Hurts contract. We did the emergency podcast yesterday. We did the emergency web show yesterday, and my reaction remains the same. This is the best big deal, best bet contract I've ever experienced in Philadelphia sports history. I have never looked at a contract like this that's a mega huge kajunga large deal and thought, yeah, okay. This is a great idea. Like sometimes there's a little reservation when you look at some of the other deals, like Carson Wentz. How is he going to come back from his injuries? Is he going to ever regain his MVP status? I don't know about this deal, but I think this is the right deal. I'm pretty sure this is the right deal. Ryan Howard's huge contract when he signed with the Phillies, he does strike out a lot. It's into the shift. What do they? Should they have signed Jason Worth? That whole thing. So there have been mega huge kajunga large deals. Well, even not even mega huge large kajunga, but still max contract. We look at the guy like Joel Embiid, and I love Joel Embiid, but the injuries have been an issue with these Sixers signed him. I don't know about this one. When Ben Simmons got his extension, I don't know, but this is a tough one. Bryce Harper, I was like, yeah, hell yeah. But we've seen it time and time again in baseball, mega huge contract, and then not performing well. He turned out to go ahead and win an MVP. He turned out to already lead this team to a World Series. And now he's learning to slide on a new leg so he doesn't hurt the other arm. So he doesn't hurt his arm or his elbow, his Tommy John reconstructed elbow, basically, rebuilt elbow to be able to come back and help this team. So when you look at all these contracts, there's questions. But with Jalen Hurts, I don't have any questions. Not a one. I am fully confident that he will be playing at an MVP caliber level for at least the duration of this contract, and what really equates to a 6-year contract extension when you consider that he's still playing on this deal in his final year of the rookie deal. So for me, I love this deal. I think it's a brilliant move by Howie Roseman. I think it's a wonderful move by the Philadelphia Eagles in general to make this deal now. They needed to make it now, but I think it's a great investment and a great bet. When you're signing these contracts, when you're creating these contracts, you're basically betting on this player. You're investing in this player. And I can't think of anybody more worthy of this investment than Jalen Hurts. This guy has gone into the offseason, and he has worked his tail off by all accounts. You even have Buda Baker tweeting out yesterday how much this guy works his tail off. Could he be trying to recruit himself to Philadelphia? I don't know. But this contract is something I feel very confident about because, as I always tell you, I never bet against anybody that has a phenomenal amount of talent already, which Jalen Hurts has, and a guy with a great work ethic, which is exactly what Jalen Hurts has. And when I think about the Jeffrey Lurie quote about a phenomenal commitment to being excellent, that is the most eloquent way you could sum up Jalen Hurts. We could talk about work ethic. We could talk about blue collar and all that stuff that really relates to a lot of people. But I think the most eloquent way of putting it together is that simple sentence by Jeffrey Lurie. A phenomenal commitment to being excellent. That's the guy that I'd give a $255 million contract to. That's the guy that I'd give an average annual salary of $51 million to. That guy with that kind of commitment. It came out, of course, the Eagles, they tapped into it yesterday by putting it out there. Adam Schefter also put the tweet out there. He's the one that broke the news. That's when we did the emergency podcast yesterday. Schefter followed it up by talking about this. Jalen Hurts' 5-year contract extension includes that no trade clause, first in Eagles history per a source. And that's really something we're going to get into in a second because that is miraculous. And then we get into these numbers right here. Just look at the bottom. Look at the tied for 7th, guys. Okay, Matthew Stafford. All right, he's good. He's won a Super Bowl. All right. Look at the other guys there. Look at that Daniel Jones fella. Look at that Dak Prescott guy. $40 million? What are the Cowboys doing? That's hilarious. Cowboys and the Giants spending $40 million for those quarterbacks? That is hilarious. Oh, goodness gracious. Whew. Oh, let me just gather myself there for a second. Jalen Hurts, top of the list here. These numbers from Field Yates. Jalen Hurts, $51 million. Aaron Rodgers, $49 million. Kyler Murray, $46.1. Sean Watson, $46 million. Patrick Mahomes, $45 million. This is the nature of the business. Oh, and I just find it worth doing it because we did this on our show. I know some other people did this as well. When Jalen Hurts' year wrapped up a year ago, not at the end of the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl. But the numbers were damn near identical to what Josh Allen had put up there for the Buffalo Bills. And a lot of Jalen Hurts is Josh Allen. And you're like, you're right. He's not. Yeah, you're right. He's not Josh Allen. But you know what? Numbers-wise, it's at least comparable. And if the numbers are comparable, it's at least worth talking about. And we talked about him. And other people, Jalen Hurts, not Josh Allen. Well, you know what? Now you're right. He's not Josh Allen. He's exceeded Josh Allen, both in accomplishment on the football field, which is the ultimate thing, which is what matters most to all of us, and now in the bank account because Jalen Hurts is getting paid $8 million more than what your boy Josh Allen is getting paid. It is just such a well-deserved contract, and I can't think of many more contracts. I can't think of any contracts in Philadelphia sports history that I went, no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. So congratulations, Jalen Hurts. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman. And the two things one thing I stressed yesterday on the emergency show was that when you look at Jalen Hurts' overall contract, the 5 years, I think we're all curious to see the years as far as whether or not it would be a 10-year deal or this 5-year deal or a 4-year deal, whatever the contract extension would be. But the no trade clause is, I think, what jumps out. And we didn't focus on it nearly enough yesterday. The no trade clause is incredible. The fact that Jalen Hurts can have the peace of mind that he ain't going anywhere, that sink or swim, this is the place that he is going to have either swimming laps, swimming, or he is going to sink. He is going to be here in Philadelphia. And the fact that Howie Roseman and this organization invested the first no-trade clause in the history of the team into Jalen Hurts, I can't think of another better vote of confidence. I mean, $180 million guaranteed, that's pretty nice too. But to actually say, and we're not trading you. Because what just happened with Carson Wentz? They signed him to a big deal, $109 million guaranteed, I believe it was. And next thing you know, they traded him. And rightfully so, they traded him. They needed to trade him. They needed to move on. They needed to give Jalen Hurts, as it turns out, this opportunity. So that's a huge vote of confidence, aside from the $180 million guaranteed. That I'm still processing that kind of relationship. And the thing that I did focus on mostly yesterday was this relationship of having the perfect mix of a guy like Howie Roseman, who was just voted, as we highlighted last week, the best GM, who's just named the best GM in all of football. Having a guy like him that can work with this contract, creating this contract so that he can work with it, be able to move money around and be able to have that opportunity to move money around if need be to sign bigger name players that are going to cost money. Why would you do that? Well, because you have a quarterback. And how are you enabled to do that? Because you have a quarterback that wants to win. It's not just about him making the most money, because in the blink of an eye, this is not going to be the most money. I think we all realize that. I think in the blink of an eye, this is all of a sudden going to be like the second or third largest contract. But when push comes to shove and you want to go out and sign bigger name guys, you want to go out and sign guys that are going to cost you some money, you got to have cap flexibility. And this deal right here gives you that cap flexibility for two reasons. One, because Howie Roseman is a wizard when it comes to the cap. And the other is that Jalen Hurts, I am more than positive, is going to say, yeah, we got to move money around to sign this guy. Let's move some money around and sign this guy. Got to move money back towards the end of my contract. Move money back to the end of the contract. Oh, the money's already moved back to that end of the contract. Let's sign a new deal. Here's something that's interesting that just came across this morning. And I didn't realize this. But Jalen Hurts, no matter how you slice it, is top 3 in payment for a quarterback now. Total money for the remainder of the contract, he's top 3. It goes Mahomes, and then it goes Allen, and then it goes Jalen Hurts. And total, average annual salary, he's number 1, and then he's number 3 in guaranteed money at $179 million. That's pretty incredible, if you ask me. That is pretty incredible. We'll get more into this in a second with our friend Thomas R. Petersen, all the way from Denmark, when he joins the program. So pretty incredible stuff there with Jalen Hurts and this Philadelphia Eagles team and what they got cooking up for everybody. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't sweating it. This 76ers game last night, I got to be honest, I wasn't sweating it. The first half happened, and it was awful. 11 turnovers in that first half. That is embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. Then you go into the second quarter in particular, and the Sixers just looked like they were all sorts out of whack. James Harden looked like he was about 90 years old. You didn't have any flow to your offense. You weren't able to play that crisp style of basketball that we have seen the Sixers play, especially in that first game against the Brooklyn Nets. There was so many struggles in this game that it was insanely worrisome. But watching this team come out in that second half, watching Doc Rivers, give him credit for calling that timeout like a minute into the third quarter, saying, hey, guys, that's not at all what we just talked about. Can we get back to the thing we all talked about? That'd be great. They handled their business in that third quarter. They handled business in the fourth quarter, and they rode an incredible performance from Tyrese Maxey for 32 points, 5 threes, and it was incredible what that Sixers team did last night. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and hopefully they just keep it coming the rest of the day. We'll get more into that in a second, but I know a lot of people still want to talk about Jalen Hurts. So without further ado, we're going to jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, or at least I thought we were going to jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. We appear to be not jumping into the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. My apologies. This is we miss our man Jim. I'll tell you that much right now. It's unfortunate, but Jim had to take the day off, and I uploaded the interview before the show, and the interview decided to not be where I put it. So I apologize if that's the case. So I just need to take a minute and make sure I can get this interview for you guys, because today's a rough day for me. I feel sick as hell. And all I want to do is serve the people. That's all I want to do today. I just want to serve the people. Let me get more into this basketball game here. I was going to save this for later, but I'll get into it right now. Going into that first quarter of play, I told you guys yesterday morning before the show, that all I wanted to see the Sixers do in this game was show no mercy. Simple as that. No mercy. I want them to complete the sweep. I want them to completely dominate this series. I want them to do what we all want them to do, which is a very simple thing. Give us the confidence that we all need that this team can make it out of the second round of the playoffs. How they played in that first half was the exact opposite of that. That is not how the Sixers are going to give confidence to everybody else out there that they are able to make it out of the second round of the playoffs. When we talked about the first half against the Nets in game 1, and we talked about that entire game, we talked about how the Sixers played their game. The Sixers played a brand of basketball that controlled the pace of play, did not give the basketball away at an alarming rate like they did in this game. They only had 2 turnovers in the first half of that game against the Nets, and then they had 9 total for the game. The fact that they had 11 at the half of game 2 was very worrisome. The fact that they were only shooting 27% from beyond the arc, they were 25%. They were 4 for 17 from at 4 for 16 from beyond the arc was worrisome. The fact that they were able to get their you-know-what together in that second half, you do wonder what was said at halftime. Whenever there's a big halftime turnaround, I always do wonder what is said. And I know a lot of times it's not that high school Harry moment. I know a lot of times it's not anything, like rah-rah. But apparently Doc Rivers went into the locker room and said, should I play the reserves? Should I play the scout team? And then there was that shot that TNT got that I saw later on Twitter. I think Crossing Broad put it out there about Doc Rivers just saying, come on, guys. Come on. That's what we're going to do? This is terrible. And then the Sixers were able to turn around. And, hey, look, I know we rip Doc every chance we get, but that was a great timeout that he called in the early goings of that third quarter to make sure that his team pulled focus and knew that there was a much better brand of basketball in them that they needed to show. So that was great to see. We'll get, like I said, more into it in a second. But I think I got this right now. Just to make sure I got this. This is called producing on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, here it is. I think I got this. All right. Without further ado, now let's jump on the Roth and Orthopedics guest line and talk to our friend Thomas R. Peterson to talk all things Jalen Hurts and NFL draft right now. Let's get to our man Thomas. Guest line, our good friend, all the way from Denmark. You know him, you love him. I actually got to hang out with him. Thomas R. Peterson. Thomas, how are you, friend?
I am great. I mean, you quickly mentioned there we got to hang out in Philly. How about that? I mean,
that was awesome. That was
about time.
Yeah, it's good to hang out with you finally in person, my friend.
So we had a couple hours, and you took me around like 3 places that I absolutely loved, like Italian place, one for espressos, and back to like we went to a bar, and you totally undersold it, and it turns out it was the very first bar that I was actually in 2015 when I went there. Like
Oscars. People know Oscars, man. People know Oscars.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and like as soon as I saw it, you see all a bunch of bars and restaurants and places like that. As soon as I saw it, it was like light bulb. Like, I've seen this place before.
When you go to Oscars once, it leaves an impression. It certainly leaves an impression. Hey, when we did hang out, you told me now. Look, the draft is coming up. Jalen Hurts just signed a mega deal. All that is secondary. I need to know how your snowboarding trip to Italy went because you were telling me how you were going to be going in a couple of weeks. It's been more than a couple of weeks since. How was it?
Oh, it was perfect. It was fantastic. Like I've been so many times where it's been like so high season or what do you call it, like the perfect season snow wise and all that. And it's always been crap whenever I went because it's been so windy and there hasn't been any snow. It's been terrible. This time we went like just at the very end of the season in Italy, and it was so warm that whenever there wasn't any snow, it just kind of turned a little bit like muddy, like this. So you would have a really good grip whenever, and we would be butt naked on the mountain, just like tanning, and yeah, it was perfect, man.
I don't see too many people doing that up the Poconos. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so let's deal with the news of what would be
the other stuff.
The other stuff, other than the naked skiers and snowboarders. Jalen Hurts signs a $51 million deal with average annual salary. That's pretty damn good. $255 million overall. Can be worth, I believe, with incentives, about $1 million cajillion dollars. What was your reaction when you saw the $255 million deal, 180 of it guaranteed?
I mean, I really didn't look at the numbers in that way. I just looked at how many years was he extended for, because I think we all 99% of Eagles fans at this point were just waiting for the extension to happen, and I think everybody were on board with whatever the price was. The price was that's what it was going to be, and I think it was it's a testament to both Jalen Hurts and Howard Roseman that they got the deal done now, and that it wasn't done after the draft and like leaning up towards the Burrow and Herbert contract discussions, which are going to be starting up and heating up a little bit later here in the offseason. That Hurts wanted to get this done so that the team has clarity on what they can do moving forward, and they can kind of, plan ahead to what moves they can do. We know, like, there are all these rumors all the time. Buda Baker becomes available, Bayer becomes available, all these kind of guys here. It gives more clarity for the Eagles, what they can actually spend and what they have and what they can maneuver around with. And also Hurts, like, Eagles wanted to pay Hurts. Like, it was, I don't think there were any CJ Gardner-Johnson, all this drama with the agency and all that. I think it's been this has been a really quiet process. Everybody's been on board from Nicole Lynn, Hurts' agent, and Howie. Eagles wanted to pay him. Hurts wanted to get paid. He wanted to stay with the team. So I think it's been as smooth as it could possibly be, and they hammered it out at the perfect time. Contract wise, like money wise, so Hurts was on, like, he had 1 year remaining on his rookie deal, and the Eagles extended him beyond that. So basically, it's a 6-year contract that he's on right now. Hurts was never going to play on his 4th year. Like, if for some reason there would have been any drama about this whole situation and the Eagles wouldn't want to pay him, he wasn't going to play on that 4th season, because obviously he almost was MVP of the league. So of course that was never going to happen, because, like I said, Eagles really wanted to pay him. So
Right.
you look at that final year of his rookie contract, and it just provides extra cap maneuverability for the Eagles, because of course we see this 5-year extension that it's league high annual average. But really, because they strike the deal at the time they do now, and he still has that 1 year in his rookie deal, like, they can bump up his salary in this last year and then kind of spread out the cap over 6 years instead of these 5 that he's extended to. So his annual value, when you put it all together, becomes 44.4 or 0.2, which is 6th in the league. Then you have Lamar Jackson already reported out that he might have more guarantees than Hurts and whatever the Ravens have offered him. Herbert's coming up, Burrow's coming up. So before the season even starts, Hurts could be around 9th in annual QB salary. If you factor in that last year of his rookie deal. I mean, why wouldn't you? Because that basically provides Howie with extra cap flexibility. It extends their window in terms of being competitors for signing big-time free agents. That's what Hurts wants. He wants Devontae Smith to get paid next season as well. So, yeah, I think everybody wins in this situation.
No, I agree with all points. And to extend it a little bit further, how much do you think, if it plays into it all, you talk about the word flexibility. One of the things I like about this scenario is that you have a guy like Jalen Hurts, you have a guy like Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is very capable of manipulating the cap, very good at manipulating contracts, right? Moving money around if need be, restructuring. Right. So we know we have that in Howie Roseman here in Philadelphia. Now, on the other side of it with Jalen Hurts, we know we have a guy here that wants to win above all else. So how much of that is also a happy marriage between these two parties?
I mean, it just makes it that much more easy to buy into him. And I guess when you're looking at all these other QB situations around the league, of course there's more or less everywhere. I mean, Lamar, that obviously that is dragged out for so long, and both parties have been expressing frustrations with the whole idea. But Justin Herbert, like, if you were to pay Justin Herbert, were you paying him because he's a winner, or are you paying him because of the potential of the quarterback that he is? I think we can both agree that he's a really good quarterback. He hasn't taken a team to the Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow, of course, has done, like, he's been playing at a very high level as well. So I have no questions about him. I mean, Bengals should want to extend him, like, happily. But with Hurts, you just have the best of every situation. Like, you have a guy who, in his second starting season, has taken the team to the Super Bowl, progressed massively in each and every single statistic that really are metrics for how you measure QB success. Like, he's a mistake-free quarterback in the way he doesn't turn the ball over. He has a unique skill set with, running and throwing combined and all this, but really just the guy that he is off the field. And it's just been a domino of effects that's all been linked to Jalen Hurts. AJ Brown trade happening, and the fact that he's even able to come to Philadelphia, that's because of Jalen Hurts. He joked about it in the interview with, I forgot who it was. He was on a podcast earlier this offseason saying, like, if you don't pay Jalen, trade me off to wherever he's going to go. And he was joking, but he's really not joking. I mean, the reason he's in Philly is because of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce coming back, saying on New Heights podcast that he's doing with his brother, that it's really because he feels they're so close to winning a Super Bowl. He wants to play another season with Jason. Brandon Graham, first thing he said when he's coming back on a 2-year deal worth $5 million per year for a guy as productive as he is, because he wants to play with Jalen Hurts. Like, everything just trickles down to having a guy who is the face of the franchise on the field, off the field, and like, that just makes it so much more easy to invest all that money in a guy like that, because that's what you want. You want him to not only be a great player, but also the teammate, the face of the city, the blah, 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 like all the things that come into being paid as much as he is. And I think nobody combined, like would you take anyone off, like any other quarterback in the NFL, combine their off the field and on the field stuff? Like Patrick Mahomes, obviously the best quarterback on the field.
Sure.
Do you hear the same thing about Patrick Mahomes from like teammates and all this kind of thing coming out all the time from like?
No. And my point, we did the, it might be the most overused term in the podcast web show world, but I did an emergency show, right after the signing was announced. And my biggest point was like basically what you're doing with any contract, any big contract in sports, even the little ones, but you're betting on that player, and the money is showing you how much you're willing to bet on that player. There's nobody in the NFL I'm going to bet on more, other than Patrick Mahomes, maybe. There's nobody in the NFL I'm going to bet on more than Jalen Hurts. There might not be anybody else in Philadelphia sports that I'm betting on more. Maybe Bryce Harper when he comes back. But right now, Jalen Hurts is a guy that you can bet on safely because of the talent and because of the work ethic. And I thought Jeffrey Lurie summed it up the best at the owners' meetings when he was doing his press conference during the timeline of the owners' meetings. And he said that Jalen Hurts has a phenomenal dedication to being great, a phenomenal commitment, I believe is the word, to being great. And I thought, if that is not a sentence you can use to describe the perfect person to bet on with a mega huge Kajunga large contract, then I don't know what other sentence you could use to describe that player, because that certainly describes Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and to take things to the extreme, you have Cowboys fans and Giants fans all throughout the season saying how I truly hate the Eagles, but how can you hate Jalen Hurts? I mean, how can you not root for that guy? And right. I think it's universal, really. And you hear from everybody, like Dom Kinsu on Rich Eisen show here recently compared him to Tom Brady. And I mean, it's everyone. And yeah, I agree 100% with you that like that's a guy you bet on, because like where else would you put your money?
Right. No, absolutely. As far as the interesting thing, as far as the years, I mean, I think everyone assumed you were going to be. I think everyone assumed that you were going to re-sign Jalen Hurts given the contract extension. After that, I think they also thought average annual salary will be between probably 48 to 50 million. So 51 is a little tiny bit surprising, but the years are probably the thing that everyone was focusing on and should have been focusing on, like you were, when it came to that 5-year deal, because this isn't a 10-year deal. This isn't like Patrick Mahomes in that regard. It's a very reasonable contract for a guy that you're willing to invest in like this with Jalen Hurts. So the years do jump out. I think you're right.
Yeah, and also that they didn't make it a 5-year contract, but a 5-year extension. So you get there you go. You get the 6 years in there. Hurts gets another major opportunity for a big-time contract as well with the Eagles at some point later in his life here in his career when the salary cap has been quadrupled. So yeah, I think everybody wins in that regard.
All right, let's talk a little NFL draft here, Thomas. Is there a player sticking out to you that'll be available on that 10 spot right now for the Philadelphia Eagles that if you were sitting next to Howie Roseman in the draft room, this is how I like to pose the question. You're sitting next to Howie Roseman. He leans over to you and say, Thomas, what do you think? Who will we taking? Who should that player be in your mind?
I think 10 is super interesting because Eagles, when you look at the roster right now, like what do they need? And I think they've done a really good job of going into this position here, not really needing anything necessarily. Like you don't lean at a certain position and say, oh, we got to get that. Like we have to draft interior defensive line or something like that, because they've signed enough guys as to where they can make it work, even if they don't have somebody at that spot that they really love. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the first 9 are going. And I think quarterback obviously is going to be a big conversation there. So you're looking at about five guys, maybe 6 non-quarterbacks they're being taken before the Eagles draft. And talked to my friend Brandon Deek a couple of times about this, that we're pretty much in consensus that Eagles are not going to be drafting anybody at 10. I think they're going to be moving either up or down. I think we landed on, what do we say, like an arbitrary, like 80 to 20. So with 80% chance that we think the Eagles are moving at some point.
Okay.
But I think the whole Jalen Carter situation obviously is super interesting because of all the off the field stuff, and then you have things coming out with, some people in the NFL draft community that do their mock drafts based on what they hear and not what they think. And you have Jalen Carter sliding a little bit more and more down the draft board there. Now, I don't think he's going to make it to 10. I don't think the Eagles will allow him to make it to 10. I think like come around 6th overall, anywhere to 9. I think Eagles are going to be very much looking into trading up there. They have that extra second round pick next year. So obviously we don't know how all the off the field stuff has been handled and how he's been in meetings. Obviously that's going to be the biggest thing for him, because on the field it's easy. Off the field, that's a whole nother story. And you have Jordan Davis and the report coming out from Georgia that really Jalen Carter was at his best when he was around Jordan Davis. And he was on his best behavior when he was around Jordan Davis. So like, obviously there's some mutual respect there. I mean, how can you stand next to Jordan Davis and not be on your best behavior? I mean, so that's super interesting. But really, like, Devon Witherspoon is a guy I've really had a draft crush on, like ever since like the Illinois cornerback.
Sure.
And obviously that complicated a little bit with James Bradbury and Darius Slay both being back on 3-year deals. I don't think it limits them in any way of drafting him. Like basically, what you just do is you get the best players possible, and you tell Sean Desai make it work.
Right.
Like if this guy's going to play safety for a while, he's going to play nickel cornerback, and Avonte Maddox is going to move in the back end. Just make it work. Like you're getting good players. What can you make of it? Kalisha Cansey is probably my draft, like the guy that I'm more high on than anybody else. And I have a thing for finding like weird players that the consensus really don't like that much, and everybody will say, you know, I love him, but not a 10. And I just I don't get that argument. I like if you have a player where you say this guy is really really good, he would move the needle for our defense, offense, running back, like Bijan Robinson, for example, like he would move the needle for the Eagles offense. So if you're confident in that, you can take him to 10, no problem. But Kalisha Cansey, obviously, he gets knocked because he has a teeny tiny T-Rex arms, and that's always the analytical draft Twitter will always hate a guy like that, and like they'll say you can't draft a guy like that, and whatever top 15, like some arbitrary thing they'll throw out. You can't draft. I mean, if you look at the tape, he's throwing around guys who are 350 pounds, and it doesn't like I don't see short arms. And I think a guy like that, like he's a little bit more of a niche player because you can't put him in a 4-3 front where you have him in a 3-tech where he's alone on an island there with the nearest guy being in a 7-tech position on the defensive line, because then there's a lot of space and he will probably get eaten up by double teams in the NFL. But if you just so happen to have a 3-4 front with a Jordan Davis and a 0 or a 1-tech, you have a Kalisha Cansey type player who is an absolutely dominant and freakish pass rusher in a 3 or 4 technique, and then you have an extra defender on the edge. Whenever you're going against a zone offense, like a zone running offense, you have to account for all the numbers on the D line, so you won't have him double teamed. And the thing about Kalisha Cansey that really intrigues me, and why I wouldn't be mad at all about getting a guy like that at 10, is that he plays with power to compensate for his lack of size and lack of stature. Like he will go straight into the chest of an offensive lineman, then he'll use technique to win those battles. Like short arms is a problem if you're always trying to wrap around an offensive lineman and try to get around on his shoulders. But if you can pin your arms in the chest of a guy, extend him up and then push pull, or extend him up and then swim move over him, within a split second that fat offensive lineman can't move before you do it, you win. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, and on defense that allows you to do that on a consistent basis, you have a recipe to win. And then you get in passing situations, and like you just let him cook. You just put him out there. You say, do your thing. Whatever you did at Pitt for 3 years, do that, because you won't find anybody better with that quick step, with as active hands, and a guy like that. And like, how often do you see defensive tackles pass rush? First move doesn't work. They quickly jump to the next one, like the spin move out of it, and then they'll rip out of it again, like 3 pass rush moves within 2 seconds. You just don't see that. You see maybe one move, they'll try to rip under it, and they'll get driven off to oblivion, and they'll be out of the play. Like that just doesn't happen with him. And so when you look at the tape of that guy, you say, this is a good player. This is a pass rusher. That's what wins in the NFL. That's what gets paid. We saw that with Deron Payne, Javon Hargrave. These guys are getting paid to rush the passer. Hassan Reddick, for example, like undersized guy, really rush the passer. The same goes with defensive tackles. So that's a pick that if that happens, I would really like it, as I really think he would fit in the Eagles defense. And then when he gets smothered by NFL offensive linemen, I'll look really stupid. And
People be like, "Hey, what about them short arms there, Thomas? We tried telling you about them short arms."
Short arms.
Hey, last time I checked, T-Rex could still do a lot of damage. Just saying. Used other assets.
I like him on my team. I don't know, like T-Rex, like a short T-Rex, kind of like the whole scary factor also drops a little bit there.
Gotcha.
I mean,
yeah, no, I gotcha. I understand.
He probably has friends in like a Jordan Davis, like massive T-Rex, or what do you call
it? Right. Yeah, exactly. One thing I do want to jump in here with you. I just want to tell everyone that this is how you are. Like getting to hang out with you, like personally, our friend Vince Quinn was out with us as well.
Great time,
like
man.
you love football. In the middle of a conversation, you're just like, hey, look at this play, and you'll show me a play on Twitter, and I'm just like, are we having beers and some chicken wings, or we break it down play? But no, it really is fascinating there. Now, to get back to the idea of trading in this draft,
yeah,
I would say, yeah, I agree with you. If you talk about an 80% chance of moving, I think, yeah, that's a good assumption, up or back with that 10th pick, either up a couple spots or back a couple spots.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd probably be more on like the 70% of that, but 80 is still fair. I could say with about 99.9% certainty, the Eagles are not picking at 30. I think they end up trading that pick to either help them move up in the first round, if that's what they do, or get more picks later in the draft. What say you about that 30th pick?
Yeah, I'd say you're 100% right about that. I mean, if you're at 30 and somebody's going to drop into the 20s, and you see a large gap between that guy and the next in the positional group, because you can also get into, in the 20s, you also get into a range where it doesn't cost as much to move up. Like it's just not as pricey as it is in that top 10 range. All the quarterbacks will have been taken at that point, so nobody's going to be fearing that you're going to grab that quarterback that they want, and that always drives the price down in the draft. And I think you're going to get some of that. Like when teams break it down, they always have the first round grades, and then they have the high seconds. And you're right in that sweet spot as to where the amount of players with your first round grades are going to be gone at that point, and then starting the high second round grades on players. And if you can snack one of the last guys on your board that has a first round grade, just throw out a name like Bijan Robinson or Nolan Smith or who else can get in there?
What,
dare I say it? A Lucas Van Ness type. Like I hate that guy as a prospect. I don't buy into it at all. But I know that
Miles Murphy. Anyone?
Miles Murphy. I like that name a lot better.
Okay.
Or even like a Joey Porter, or like somebody who's going to be in that range where you say, all right, this is a guy that we have a first round grade on. He slipped to 20. Let's go get him.
Okay. Christian Gonzalez. You like Christian Gonzalez?
Love Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez and Devon Witherspoon are two extremely good cornerbacks in my opinion. Devon, the more physical type, he's the more like his 2022 tape is just out of this world. And you'll see him come up and smack people around. Like he's one of those undersized players as well, but he doesn't like he really plays so physical, and it's always fun to see that kind of thing combined with tremendous ball skills when the ball is in the air. Christian Gonzalez is so smooth, like he can do everything. He's such a fluid athlete. Joey Porter is a little bit more tricky for me, but I know that obviously people like him more as that press type cornerback. I think he's way too grabby. He would be more ideal to have not play immediately. If you're going to take a cornerback with with a lot of talent, and that you can have working behind Bradbury and Slay into one point when either like if somebody gets injured or whatever happens at some point, that will make sense as well. Or we could have that Bijan Robinson conversation. Like if he goes back there to 20 and you have a guy where like you say, all right, he could be a generational type prospect at 20, the money for a first round rookie, the cap space that it would take up in the 4 years wouldn't be absurd even for a running back. If you have a running back that you immediately think would be a top 10 player in the NFL, that's what he will be cap wise. So the value there would make more sense. You have the 5th year option, so that's 5 years where you can bank on that player being on your team. So I just don't think Eagles are going to be drafting a running back in the first round. But if let's say if they were to break that rule, like if every rule has exceptions and this crazy free agency draft of running backs has, driven the need down so much that a guy like Peterson Robinson that everybody can't stop talking about, if he drops a little bit lower than what you would expect, maybe. You're muted, Mark.
Damn it. I'm pushing buttons over here. I shouldn't be pushing buttons. I'm trying to clear my throat because I'm fighting allergies today, unfortunately. And plus, I'm still stuck on the whole being naked in the mountains. But anyway, no. But if you're at 10, okay, if you're at 10, and the Eagles select Bijan Robinson, your reaction is that that's a bad move at 10.
No, I think my reaction would be, I'm gonna love to see this.
Okay, all right.
It's a sexy pick. So
okay.
It's like every reasonable, from a roster construction standpoint to paying a running back and the cap that goes into a 10th overall player, positional value, all these things will be screaming against it, and I guess that's why we won't be naked in the mountains if it happens, but. If it does happen, like it's a really sexy pick. So you're definitely like you can't just imagine that lineup, what it's going to look like. Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and you just go full bonk. Like I would love to see it. That scenario would yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right. That's going to be our new draft classification now. Are you naked in the mountains for Bijan Robinson? Are you naked in the mountains for Jalen Carter? Okay, so that's what I want to ask you. And I think I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't personally believe in the whole top 10 picks taking a running back. If you know a guy's Barry Sanders, then obviously you take him. But it is a definite dice roll, no question about that. But if they do take that guy, whether it be a wide receiver, whether it be a running back, oh, man, I'm naked in the mountains. What can I say? I would be very excited if they ended up taking him in the top 10. I would be against it philosophically, but then again, philosophically, I was against taking Jalen Hurts in the second round after you took Carson Wentz, and that seemed to work out for everybody. Yeah. So I am eagerly awaiting to see what the Eagles do at that spot. Thomas Petersen, make sure you guys are following this man when it comes to all things Eagles Twitter. A phenomenal follow all the time, all things Eagles. Thomas, great catching up with you again, man. Hope to see you stateside, or maybe I'll make the trip over there to Denmark. I don't know. We'll see. But
you should.
I should.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Why the hell not?
Yeah, I guess you owe it about at this point. After the Philly, you come to Denmark.
It just makes sense. Sense. Thomas Petersen joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Am I back? Did I do it? Am I unmuted? I told you. I mean, when you think about it, that's pretty impressive. For you to mute yourself during your own show, man, oh man. I'm a big dumb idiot, folks. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me remove that so I don't hit it again. There it is. The naked in the mountains is from now on how we will be. Next week, I will reveal my top 5 players that I would be naked in the mountains for if the Eagles win. That sentence isn't as good as I thought it would be. Mi scusi. I guess I'll just replace over the moon. Oh, over the moon. If the Eagles draft this person, I'll be naked in the mountains in the Swiss Alps. New draft terminology. Top that, Kuiper. Anyway, thanks, Thomas. Let me tell you about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. Offering the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com and at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Now, what is the perfect price, you ask? Well, when people say, I'm going to the jeweler, a lot of times I feel like they have pressure because they got to negotiate, they got to haggle, whatever it might be. But at Steven Singer Jewelers, you don't have to worry about that because you're getting the perfect price. You don't have to worry about pressure. You don't have to worry about negotiating. You just worry about what beautiful diamond you want to buy. At Steven Singer Jewelers, we're a real jewelry expert. We'll make you feel like a family member. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about the great people at Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. That's Manscaped.com. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and their skin-safe technology that helps you manscape with confidence and comfort. when you enjoy their Platinum Package 4.0. Oh, my goodness. It includes the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer and the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, they come with skin-safe technology. So trust the people of Manscaped and use promo code FARZI for 20% off and free shipping. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll love it. If you like CBD, if you use CBD, you want to switch up your CBD or try CBD in general, try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code FARZI for 20% off. You'll love the tropical tasting Bayax that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine day. Oh, wait, PJ's off, so you know what that means. Boom! Sean Gillespie says good morning. That's right. We get to put your comments up on the board. Sean Gillespie, first. Oh, Farzy alone pushing buttons. Everybody runs away scared. April! Good morning, April. So what are the odds? Draymond gets off with a slap on the hand. Whenever I see something that looks absolutely egregious in sports, I do try to put myself in the scenario and say, is it as bad as it looks? That's as bad as it looks. He stomped a guy. He said after the game yesterday, Draymond Green basically stomped on a player's chest yesterday. I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw it happen. Watched a little. Caught his explanation of it after the game on social media, and he basically said his leg had been grabbed, and it was like how many times and throughout the game his leg had been grabbed. So how many times are you going to let it happen? Well, a lot more than what you did. I don't feel like you were justified. If you're trying to shake your leg free, you don't stomp on a guy's chest, and that's what happened. He looked like he got his leg free, and then he stomped on a guy's chest. Not a good move. He's probably going to get suspended. Travis, what's up, Travis? The most expensive player in football? Kind of crazy, ain't it? Aaron Rodgers had to think twice about his Hall of Fame after Hurts contract ahead of him? Huh? Most expensive player in football. Kind of crazy, ain't it? Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is great. But if you're talking about giving a contract extension, you're giving a contract extension to Aaron Rodgers before you're giving one to Jalen Hurts? Absolutely not. And that's all about pay scale. That's all about age and years you have left. I don't know how much time Aaron Rodgers has left. I don't know how much time you have confidence in Aaron Rodgers winning. And I love Aaron Rodgers. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks ever to watch play football. But if you're talking about long-term contracts, yeah, Jalen Hurts deserves that. Sean and April getting along. Travis, better pay now when the price is going to go up. Sean, exactly. That's pay scale right there, baby. I think Nicole Lynn went a little overboard when it comes to money and women power. I don't, Travis. Here's the thing. This money is going to seem like it's going to be very similar to the Bryce Harper deal with the exception of 13 years. But towards the end of Bryce Harper's contract, when his skills will be diminishing, I mean, this father time catches up with everybody. He's going to get like $20 million. That's going to be like next to nothing in what do we got now left of that deal? Like 8 years left. It's not going to be a lot of money by that standard. Fuji, what's up, Fuji? Good morning, Mark and good peeps. Happy Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? What the hell is today? Yeah, today's Tuesday. How about that? Congrats, Philly. There you go. Here we go. I'm all stingy with the money. This is Travis again. I'm all stingy with the money like it's my money. I'll let Howie handle his own money. He knows what he's doing. Is Jordan Mailata getting a contract extension too? Jordan Mailata already signed a deal. I would assume he's going to get another contract extension. I mean, he'll be worth it, but I think they'll cross that bridge. I think they have another year before they start talking about that. Everyone's excited. Sean Kilray, what's up, Sean Kilray? 76ers with multiple career playoff games, 20-plus points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists since the meager, awesome Charles Barkley, Joel Embiid. I guess. By the way, did you see that Charles Barkley commercial where he's young Chuck. It's modern day Chuck talking to young Chuck. And young Chuck is not wearing a 76ers jersey. Oh, no. Young Chuck is wearing a Phoenix Suns warm-up outfit. I call BS on that. That is garbage. If you're going to have young Chuck, then you better have young Chuck in a Sixers outfit. None of the Suns crap. Not that young Chuck. You're like middle-aged Chuck at that point. Anyway. What do we got, Jeff? As big as deals is, Hurts could have gotten more years and more guaranteed money, like 8 years, $275 million guaranteed. Hurts wants to be here and try to win at a pay cut for 3 years. Love it big time. Jeff, I agree. I think that's a great point. Yeah, it could have been for more years. And I think maybe this is what took so long, is maybe they were stuck on a couple of different years here. Maybe they're stuck on a 5-year deal versus an 8-year deal, 4-year deal versus a 10-year deal. Maybe that's what it was. But I think 5 years is great. And when it comes to the money, I mean, it's weird to say it, but you're talking about a 24, 25-year-old guy like Jalen Hurts, and you're talking about $51 million as an average annual salary. Holy pots and pans. You can't really say, bargain discount or taking less money. But, man, the market is set now, and it'll get reset, possibly with Lamar Jackson. It'll possibly get reset when it comes to Joe Burrow, most likely reset when it comes to Joe Burrow. But there's going to be a lot of different things going on here when it comes to quarterback contracts in the next couple of years. But right now, Jalen Hurts is the head of the pack. Head of the class, I should say. Charlotte Gillespie, Hurts has that hunger to win. Absolutely. 3-year window now. Break the bank for the next couple of years. 1,000% agree. Sean's back says Hurts is what Philly is, blue collar, tough and gritty, and knows the game. I'm hyped for the upcoming season, as am I. Random Anton, nice to see you back. I hope we get a couple of Super Bowls with Hurts, man. Really sucks how close we were. I concur. Random Anton's back. Howie's probably going to be unloading those 2024 draft picks. Most likely. That's the only thing I keep trying to remind myself. What is it, like 11 picks next year? We talked to Dave Zagaro last week about 11 picks next year. So you're going to have some wiggle room. You might not have a lot of wiggle room this year, but next year you'll have a lot of wiggle room. And, of course, with next year's wiggle room, you can help this year. Dan Schwartz! What's going on? Wait, let me get to this one first. Cap space on Jalen contract looks good for the next 3 years. It absolutely does. All about the next 3 years, says Jeff. Dan's back says, yeah, maybe the fourth the cap has inflated, the fifth that they restructure. There's going to be a lot of room to restructure this deal. A lot of people excited, as you should be. Oh, T-Bro! Farzi, chat, what's happening? It might have been too cold for Phillies baseball, but was it too cold for guys to get paid? Plus, Sixers waking up in the second half. Let's go. I like how the Sixers win a playoff game where a lot of people were worried in that first half, and it's like, yeah, no, Jalen Hurts got paid. Let's talk about that. Oh, here we go. Draymond Green. Jeff says Draymond Green is in despised territory with Bill Laimbeer. I can't think of the NBA player more hated by so many, but Draymond is coming close. Here's the thing. I actually like Draymond, but that was an awful move last night. You shouldn't do that. Wow, April with the curb stomp. I just started watching. I just watched Sopranos. I watched it a little bit in its first run, and I watched the scene where that one guy Coco messes with Tony's daughter a little bit. That didn't end well for Coco. Sean Gillespie, Rogers with those magic mushrooms. Hey, you want to sign me to a long-term deal? Just have a couple of snacks with me. Most creative deal in sports history. Feel better, Mark. Allergies are nasty. Dude, I am struggling. Not even kidding. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. It's always lovely to see all of you guys. So, during that interview, I went back and I was looking at my notes from last night's Sixers game because there is more to discuss. By the way, the Phillies have the doubleheader today. I believe 4:05 start time, and then they'll play the 7:30, 8:30 start time for later. and they'll have a doubleheader today against the White Sox because there's bad weather in the Midwest, folks, as terrible as it is. But I just wanted to run over some of the notes I had from last night's basketball game. And I will, man, this is like just on the fly. Who doesn't miss PJ? I miss PJ. Allora. I'm a big dumb idiot, folks. Just remember that. There I am. All right. So first quarter. Let's go in order here. Because I like how this goes here. First quarter, Nets went on a run. They go up 6. Sixers responded with a 10-0 run. That was great. Embiid finished with 6 points and 9 rebounds in that first quarter. Sixers had 5 turnovers after 1 quarter of play. That's not good. Second quarter, James Harden has 4 turnovers on his own. Later has 5 turnovers in the same quarter. He had 4 turnovers in the first 14 minutes of play, 4 assists. Sixers matched their turnover mark from game 1 at 9. They matched that mark with 7 minutes remaining in the second quarter of this basketball game. That's awful. Sixers 11 turnovers in the first half in total, shot 4 for 16 from beyond the arc. I mentioned this earlier, 25% from beyond the arc. That's terrible. Third quarter, Sixers end up winning the quarter by 10 points. They allow a layup in the early goings of that third quarter, like the first minute. Doc Rivers called timeout immediately. Well-placed timeout. It reminded me of Peter Laviolette calling timeouts in 2010. Huh? All right. Those that get it. Those that don't. Sixers that dominate that third quarter from that point on shot 40% from 3. Just 4 turnovers in the quarter. Won the quarter by 10 points. That's great. And in the fourth quarter, all I have written there is dominance. That's the only thing I have written there. Sheer dominance. And that's what they had. Last night, for Tyrese Maxey, this is pretty great to see. I want to make sure I got this in there. Tyrese Maxey, most games with 30-plus points and 5 3-pointers made. Tyrese Maxey now ties Allen Iverson for the Sixers' all-time postseason history list there. With games like that, Tyrese Maxey had 2. Allen Iverson had 2. So Tyrese Maxey on a hell of a roll last night. At the half, Joel Embiid had like 15 rebounds. And here's my thing. And I even put this out on social media. The Sixers were not going to turn the basketball over as much as they did in that first half. The Sixers went into halftime trailing by 5, and the Sixers weren't going to be as bad from 3 as they were in that first half. That was my bold prediction. And going into halftime, as bad as it was, and as bad as especially James Harden was playing, I went into that halftime and I thought to myself, I am somewhat encouraged here because it's a 5-point differential. You're down 5 points, and you have played the worst half of basketball I've seen you play in quite some time. I was actually encouraged that the Sixers were going to win that game. What ended up happening? They shot better in the second half from beyond the arc, and they didn't turn the basketball over nearly as much. That's a great thing. I think they ended up with 18 turnovers in the game in total. So they at least cut down by a couple there in that second half. But overall, great performance by the big man when it came to owning the glass. Great performance by Tyrese Maxey. And the unsung hero of last night's basketball game. You know who it was? We're going to sing for this hero right now. We're going to sing for this guy. Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris was Johnny on the spot. When you talk about second chance points, and the Sixers outscored the Nets last night, what was it, 16-0, 18-0, second chance points? Tobias Harris, I don't know how many second chance points he has, but it felt like he had all of them. Putbacks, being there under the rim, getting rebounds, going right back up, throwing it down. He played great, especially on the offensive end last night. So shout out to Tobias Harris for getting it done on the glass and also under the basket last night, helping the Sixers out with those second chance points. That was great. Sixers will be back with you guys tomorrow. Sixers will be back with you guys tomorrow, hoping for a 3-0 series win and then just 1 win away from the sweep. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyden was off today. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. We'll get you up on Jacob Media hopefully a little bit later today as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Let's go, Phils. I'll be back with you guys on the Jacob Media Phillies post-game show after the ball games today. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.